Today, COVID-19 has taken the fear of complete decimation of capital markets to the boardrooms of the rich and the mighty. C-19 has democratized fear. Fear was always the bane of the poor. It was never the bane of the rich.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Leisurely Baatein. My guest today needs no introduction. He's the founder of Aavishkaar Group. Aavishkaar Group is an impact investment platform impacting millions of lives in Asia and Africa using entrepreneurship-based developmental approach. Vineet Rai, welcome to Leisurely Baatein. How are you doing?
Doing well, thanks, and thanks for having me, Shubhadip.
It's absolutely an honor, Vineet. We all are living in very challenging times caused by COVID-19. How are you keeping yourself busy and inspired?
Yeah, no, it's been quite some time. So I was in Europe just before I landed in India on March 13th, and then went on a very, very long quarantine, as you can make out. First, I was in quarantine, then my son arrived from US, so there was an extended quarantine, and the moment we were about to come out of the quarantine, India went into a lockdown. so I think many positives to take. One, I normally travel 20 to 24 days in a month. So from there to actually not traveling at all has been great. Allows you to rest, think, reflect, question a lot of things. Well, the world keeps you busy because there are so many things. We have 7,000 people, so you have to worry about their salaries. You know things are not going to get naturally as good as they were before. So how do you deal with it? You don't know the time, so there is a little bit of helplessness on that side. You also need to keep everybody positive, and then you have to get engaged on a very virtual way of communicating. So looking into a computer screen for the hours and hours, trying to give expressions that will make the other side understand what you're trying to communicate is not easy, but it's an interesting new way of learning. So I think a lot of learning of this. And let me also be very honest, I have been more busy than I ever been in my life. So.
Wow, that's really good. Vineet, when I look back into your background, post-graduation in forest management into, being a forester, what motivated you to choose an entrepreneurial venture towards creating an impact platform?
See, I'm actually one of those guys who was a product of 1991. So while India started liberalizing, I graduated in physics, chemistry and maths and walked into the job market where the word job was almost in existence. I mean, there was nothing available. So the idea that you are doing something because you are inspired, motivated, or you're trying to change the world was never the reason. I think basic instinct of survival is how I would put it. I got into Indian Institute of Forest Management, which is an interesting mix of management and forestry, which is quite unique. As a confession, let me tell you, I didn't join IFM because I was in love with forest or nature. They were the only one offering a scholarship, full scholarship. So that was the reason I joined. I don't think so, and also I love the buildings. It's probably one of the most beautiful buildings, right. Architectural marvel in that sense. I spent 2 years there, not knowing whether I'm there to study or to enjoy. I passed out. I got a job without really trying too much from the campus. The job took me to Orissa in a fairly remote part of the forest. And because I was quite happy with what I got, what do you think? I was 22 and a half. I got a motorbike and a jeep. You have to drive up and down the mountains, construct. So chasing elephants was a beautiful life. I actually really enjoyed it. Frankly, everybody was leaving and running away because most people were from city life. So living in a secluded bungalow with no man, no woman to see, no electricity is challenging to some, but the kind of mindset I had, for me, it was fun also.
Right.
Then I got married, and my wife reminded me that this is not a logical life. It's the fact that she had to. I used to leave 6 in the morning and drive back at around 1 in the night
Wow.
And because my expanse of area was 350 kilometers from one trip to other. And so driving across the whole 350 kilometers every day, plus this was hills, so you were driving in 4 wheels, first gear, so you're driving at 2 kilometers, 4 kilometers, 5 kilometers, 8 kilometers an hour. So used to normally take 14, 17 hours, and she told me that no sane person can survive this. I was already hitting on 2.5, 3 years by then. So I was given a short opportunity to step out, and I looked for jobs. Nobody wanted a forester living in the forest to employ. IIM Ahmedabad was looking for a research associate who had worked for a corporate, lived in the forest. I think I was the only one to qualify for that application. I went to IIM Ahmedabad hoping to find a way out, and then in IIM Ahmedabad I realized that it struck me because I was coming from nature and forestry and poverty and extreme side of this thing to IIM Ahmedabad where money was the biggest discussion in whatever form. So good form, bad form, it was always about money. So it was quite jarring for a young fellow to be there. I made some good friends, some good professors, but I quickly realized I'm not cut out to sit on a computer and type out papers. So I left. And then I think it was the second time I got lucky. The government of Gujarat was thinking about setting up an incubator. I applied for the post of a manager. Government, for some reason, a strange reason, probably I was the only fool willing to join at that time. Even nobody in India knew what incubator was. Offered me and made me the CEO of that place.
Wow.
I think at 26 years, 8 months, I was the CEO of probably India's first incubator.
Wow.
And it was owned by government of Gujarat, designed by IIM Ahmedabad.
Right.
And I think whatever I did later on transpired into CII, the famous IIM Ahmedabad incubator that exists now. So I'm not saying that it's exactly directly related to us, but a lot of groundwork that was done in the incubator that I used to run inspired a lot of work that happened in CIA later. Of course, the imagination for both CIA and Gyan came from Professor Anil Gupta, so it was their creativity.
Right.
I learned in that process, I actually learned how to convert an idea, a farmer's idea, into business.
Wow.
And the learning was that ideas are dime a dozen, money that is willing to take risk, and talent that is willing to help that idea to convert into a business is where the challenge is. And so I tried to convince my board that this is what is lacking. And of course, everybody laughed and said, yes, of course, Silicon Valley also struggles with money, lack of money and talent. So that rural India is struggling is not such a big discovery. Right. I thought maybe the response could be that we can launch India's first rural-focused fund. And so triggered by a question, not because of capability, not out of curiosity, triggered by a question or a solution to a problem, I quit my job and started Aavishkaar. So that's really the whole story.
Well, that brings to me the next question. I think, and this is would be a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of wantrepreneurs would be very keen to understand this. How was how difficult was your start? The story of your start. Story of your Aavishkaar.
I think, so let's actually just, I actually keep telling this to a lot of entrepreneurs that entrepreneurship is not glamour. That you were on a front page of a Forbes magazine is actually takes 20 minutes of photo shoot to get in there, but 20 years of hard work goes behind it. So what you are seeing is actually has nothing really to. So there are many things. First is pluck. You need to actually make a courageous decision to give up everything and be on your own. So pluck is important. Then comes the idea. What is it that you're trying to solve? Mm-hmm. And then when you have got these two, the third thing, which is the most important thing, is persistence. I don't think so. Entrepreneurs become successful because they were the brightest. Entrepreneurs do not become successful because they were the luckiest. Entrepreneurs also do not become successful because they had the best idea first. Entrepreneurs become successful because they identify the limits under which they are operating and excel within those limits. And for you to excel and demonstrate your excellence, you have to be persistent and patient. And persistence and patience essentially is something that people do not give enough importance when they become entrepreneurs. They think it's actually a fast thing, do things very fast. No, it's a very slow marathon race. It's like doing an Ironman at a very slow speed. Luck turns. I mean, you've heard of pivoting.
Yes.
I mean, in COVID-19, there is the best of ideas and best funded ideas will also die.
Right.
It has nothing to do with your skill, your ability. But if you had the courage and capability to stay and somehow survive, and again, somehow is important. How you survived is not important. That at the end of the crisis, you are alive as your business, not you yourself personally. Probably that is equally important. So you have to be alive and your business has to be alive. And if you survive that and you develop this survival attitude, you will go very far. And remember that again, repeat. Don't get mesmerized by the success of 1A or 1B or 1C. It doesn't really matter. At any given point of time, 1 million, 2 million, 10 million people are trying to be entrepreneurs. 0.1 actually do anything worthwhile, and a little 100th or 1,000th of that actually become those very successful names. So it's really not important. Once you become an entrepreneur, you have to do the best you can within the limitations you have around you.
A lot of entrepreneurs these days, especially in the last 10 years, I've seen the success parameter is about funding rather than the matrices of core business which people have established in years and years back. Some of the large corporates, some of the large brands, we haven't seen them talking about the funds that they have raised. They've been organically grown. So what's your thought on that? How do you meet a lot of entrepreneurs?
So I think, again, as I said, for you to be successful, you need to first find a problem that is worth solving.
Right.
So in Aavishkaar Group, we actually say our vision is we exist to bridge the opportunity gap to the other 3 billion. So it's actually about what you want to do that is world changing.
Right.
But our mission, the strategy to do it is to find a problem that is worth solving and then put all your effort in trying to solve it. I think to me that really sums up what an entrepreneur should do. You have to find a problem that you can solve. If you find a problem that you can solve, and you pick up any famous enterprise or a non-famous enterprise, whether it is a Fab India on one hand or Uber on the other, they all found an idea that is solving a problem.
Correct.
And then they actually went and tried to solve the problem. In solving the problem, you need capital.
Right.
So, do you need capital? Yes, but you don't need capital to find a problem.
Right.
Almost 75 to 80% entrepreneurs are actually seeking a capital to find a problem.
Right.
That's actually a very bad idea. And again, a lot of times we actually keep trying to remind entrepreneurs that the business plan that you are making is the business plan for a problem that you found so that you can execute on it. Our money is an incidental element to that entire idea. Unfortunately, most people actually make a business plan to raise money, not a business plan to execute an idea or solve a problem that they have identified.
Very well said, and I think that's really should resonate with a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of wantrepreneurs. Vineet, I wanted to understand from the companies that you have invested in, what where have you seen significant contribution from these companies towards social developmental goals that we keep hearing SDG as a term?
So see, Sustainable Development Goals, for those who don't know, agreement in 2015 that 193 governments of the world signed to reimagine a future that has never existed. So collectively, they actually reimagined a future that by 2030, that's 10 years away, exactly 10 years away from today, the world will be free of hunger, free of poverty, and free of inequity. You are hearing about racial rights in US. You have heard about communal rights in India. You have seen challenges across the world, whether it is China, India, US, Europe, Africa. I think there is an imagination coming from the governments that the world will change. Now, humanity has never seen a world like that. Now, that's what Sustainable Development Goals are. Very laudable, but exceptionally far away. Now, the important thing is, how do you go about doing it? There are many different ways. Global aid is roughly around 250 billion a year. the investment requirement to actually meet this goal is between 2.5 to 3 trillion a year. So the global aid is only 10% of the capital requirement. So 90% of the capital is not available. Now this 90% of the capital, roughly the global capital market is 300 trillion. So you are talking about 1% per year is the ask. 1% per year is the ask to bring a world that is just beautiful. Now, how do you do it? One of the ideas is what we do, impact investing, the idea of creating and finding an entrepreneur who's trying to solve a real problem and providing him or her capital so that they can actually build a business is what impact investing is. And I'll give you two examples to narrate to you. Now, in 2013, 2013, before Swachh Bharat Abhiyan was started, we actually realized that the big mess outside, which is called the waste mountains outside the cities, are growing bigger and bigger. I mean, you go to Delhi, you go to Bombay, you go to Devnar, Gazipur, you will see these massive mountains, what are known as landfill. They are supposed to be beneath the land. They are actually literally Mount Everest outside. These are waste piles that are essentially serious health hazards, very serious land destruction that is going on. A huge amount of filth and dirt that can actually destroy and create all kinds of undesired outcomes. So we thought, can you find a way? Is there an entrepreneur who has figured out a way to convert this waste into wealth without actually having government to pay for it? So these were the boundary conditions. And we started. So I drove from Mumbai to Calcutta and back, all the way across from Gujarat, UP, Bihar, Jharkhand, Orissa. And with my partner Ajay Maniyar, and we met some 30-40 entrepreneurs who were doing something in the waste, largely serving government in some way or the form, municipalities otherwise. Then we found two young guys in Ahmedabad who were effectively working as ethical kabadis. They were working with rag pickers. They were actually giving them very honest payment. They were giving them the right weight. And then they were trying to sell this to recyclers. So they were, now just to give you an idea, rag pickers are the poorest of the poorest of the poor. They are the lowest rate of the society. Any city, when the people migrate, this is the starting job. And therefore they get exploited massively. They are the ones who go into these dump yards and then pluck out plastics and others and then recycle them. Now, we gave them $500,000 and we thought, can this be done at large scale? Now, very naive. What I did was naive. The entrepreneurs were also naive. 2014, we gave them $500,000. And what do people do when you get $500,000 or 3 crores? That's a lot of money. So they went ahead and bought a lot of waste, which is what a natural thing is. Now, it is easy to buy a lot of waste. It is very difficult to convert waste into cash again. So the easier part they did, and what we realized is to actually scale any business, you require a very large number of hands. Unfortunately, rag picker is not a community that you can suddenly scale up, because it's actually a community that naturally and doesn't aspire to be a rag picker. So long and short of it, there was a fire that happened and most of our 3 crores was burned down. The entrepreneurs were extremely committed. They said whatever said and done, so while they were very hurt, heartbroken, etc., because some guy came, gave us money, it all got burnt out. So we just sat and discussed and we asked them, can you actually convert this waste that you have, the whole process? Is there a way to scale up from, let's say, 500 kgs or 1 ton to 100 tons per day? They said, boss, we were trying to going from 50 kgs to 1 ton and this is what happened. How do you go from 1 ton to 100 ton? We gave them a month to think about it. And we said, for a minute, just assume the money will come from God. So don't consume money as a constraint. Think and come back. 30 days later, Sandeep Patel, the brilliant founder, came back and said, well, it can be done, but you need to give us 12 crore more. Just to give you an idea, this is all 2014. So the fire happened sometime in 2014. We are in 2020, 6 years down the line. Make a guess. This company now does 570 tons of waste processing in India. 570 tons per day.
My goodness.
570 tons roughly translated into 350, 400 crores of revenue. It actually employs a very large number of waste, this thing, and we are only in 4 cities. Just think about India and think about the world. The problem of waste is not an India problem, it's a global problem.
Right.
This company could be the multi-billion-dollar company just doing recycling of waste if we can scale up. So this is actually one idea. Our total investment in this company till now is around 60-70 crores, and we are putting another 50 crores. So roughly this company will reach 1,000 crore revenue with around 150 crore of investment. So very capital efficient as well. That's the other part. Third, it is profitable. Fourth, it is creating jobs, and it is converting rag pickers into blue collar jobs. Fifth, it is clearing India from all kind of dirt and filth and creating revenue in the process. Sixth, India is an oil importer. If you recycle plastics, you are essentially trying to create a hedge against importing, which again is very good for the country. So just an example of what all can be done by impact investing.
Phenomenal. What I wanted to ask you, I mean, there's a lot of passion, which I hear when you speak. Who have been people that you got inspired in the social entrepreneurship stage?
See, again, people are different. Some people are different. And I'm actually a questioning guy. So I'm a skeptic about any. So if I come across a person who is actually a great person, I'll always question. I find all the faults in the person, and that's how I am.
Right.
So it's very difficult for me to actually look up to somebody. But there are still people that you can actually get inspired by. So Vijay Mahajan, who is the founder of Basics, is a fairly famous name, distinguished alumni of IIT Delhi. IIM Ahmedabad, I think he's the gold medalist of his batch. Founder of Basics, Pradhan, some 30, 40, 50, the whole Basics group. Currently CEO of Rajiv Gandhi Foundation. He's the man who actually, I would say, the inspiration is also very different. So my inspiration was a person who is very successful, but is open to new ideas.
Correct.
Does not rubbish you, does not. So Vijay Mahajan was one of those persons who actually never told you to copy them, even though I tried to ape him for some period of time. I think between 2001 and 2007 or 8, I was trying to ape and become Vijay Mahajan. But once I actually saw him get on stage, and Vijay Mahajan is somebody who can talk about Shakespeare and the laws of motion of physics in the same breath. So I saw him get on stage and tear his speech and make a very impassionate new speech, trying to address a bureaucrat who was in the audience. And at that point of time, I just gave up. I realized the person I'm trying to ape, I have no capability to ever become him. And that day I realized I would rather try to, instead of becoming a fourth class Vijay Mahajan, I would try to be at least first class Vineet Rai. And that really has been, so my learnings have been with Vijay has been that he gave me the independence, did not awe me or did not try to run down my spirit, encouraged without actually trying to be prescriptive. And that's what inspired me. A lot of people look for, they are awestruck by a person's personality. Vijay Mahajan is an awesome personality, so anybody will be awestruck. I was not awestruck, but I actually admired the way he gave you the space to become yourself.
Sure. Vineet, how do you see for early stage social entrepreneurship and their ability to get funded in the next, let's say, 8 to 12 months amidst this COVID-19?
So see, those who actually have been recipient of money from any of us would continue to be significantly supported by most of us. Not only us, I think in India, the interesting part has happened is the impact investors and mainstream investors are all invested in the same companies. Even though impact investors, for example, I would have gone and been the first investor in NEPRA, but the follow-on investors are not necessarily coming from impact investors. Because ultimately, if you are an investor and you see $1 billion potential company, why would you not invest? So India has that way been a very unique experience. So all those who have raised capital would continue to receive some sort of support over the next 6 to 8 months. I think a lot of those who have actually raised money, let's say in December and September, would like to invest in new companies, but may want to actually take a pause and wait out till September. When the full lockdown and full moratorium gets over. So if you are a new entrepreneur and a startup entrepreneur, stay engaged, reach out to people, don't expect a positive response. But however, if you keep reaching out to people and keep asking them, and if you have a bright idea and a bright process, and if you are not expecting a miracle that somebody will give you money tomorrow, chances are you will get funded in the second half of the year. So between October and March, most likely there will be significant investment, because remember, every crisis, a significant period of time, no investments have happened.
Right.
So those sitting with money would want to actually deploy that capital. And when that deployment happens, if you are actually doing the right things now, you would probably be the first in line.
Sure. No, great answer, Vineet. Vineet, how do you see the world post-COVID-19?
So, see, I actually told you that Sustainable Development Goals imagine a world free of hunger, poverty. Now, I have always believed that the world does not actually want to solve that problem, because the capital doesn't really believe it is its responsibility. Money doesn't believe it's its responsibility. Today, COVID-19 has taken the fear of complete decimation of capital markets to the boardrooms of the rich and the mighty. C-19 has democratized fear. Fear was always the bane of the poor. It was never the bane of the rich. Because money could buy you protection, buy you a doctor's best. Unfortunately, C-19 or COVID-19 has told that money is not the protection here. Money, arms, ammunition, tanks, missiles, nothing will protect you. Now, that is a very path-changing thought process, going to the 0.1 of the world who actually controls 199% of the world's wealth. So that $300 trillion that I'm talking about is managed by less than 0.1 or probably 0.01% of the world. The fear of losing it all is the fear, a very unnatural fear, which is reached through the boardrooms. Now, this fear is going to change the way the world operates. The reason the world will change and the Sustainable Development Goals most likely will be reached is because powerful are fearful today. And that's really, I believe, is going to be a turning point. The world doesn't change because poor want to change. The world sees a revolution, but the money is smart. It actually sides on the revolution, the stronger on the side of the revolution, and stays on this side. This case, money is fearful, and therefore they would make sure that the world changes towards the right. And they are doing it not because they have suddenly become conscious of humanity. They are doing it because self-preservation is the most important idea that rich really believe in.
Right. Vineet, thank you so much for your insights, your thoughts. It's really been like wonderful sharing thoughts with you. I wish you and Aavishkaar Group all the very best for your future, and look forward to meeting you on the other side of COVID-19 in person.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.